Good morning. I wanted to share a series of a couple of short videos that Westfield Washington Schools, the parent university, have asked me to provide during this time. And I want to begin the first of these with just sharing with parents and with all of us. We are in a new normal, and I think it's a stretch to even call it a normal. I'm holding up this styrofoam head this morning because this is what we are using in our classrooms when we talk about how anxiety, how anger, how frustration, how worry affect the developing brain and affect our brains when we are feeling so rough and so dysregulated. So in this series of videos, I'm going to be sharing with you a few strategies that I will post along with the videos, and then also just helping all of us to know that we're in this together, and that in this time right now, our brain states are going to be fluctuating wildly. We will have moments where we feel focused, and then we're going to have moments where we feel extreme anxiousness. And 2 weeks ago, our teachers and parents were thrown into experiences that none of us knew what was coming. And right now we're sitting in what is very difficult for the brain to take, and that is unpredictability. So this morning, I want to just share a little bit about how the brain develops and how stress and adversity affect that development, and then what we can do to mitigate some of those feelings of negativity, like that anxiousness or that just sometimes the panic that we feel. And first of all, our brains are wired with a negative bias. They are paying attention in all moments to anything outside of us or inside of us that feels unfamiliar, that feels threatening, or that feels unsafe. And so that is a common brain state that is built into our neurobiology for survival. We have a brain for three purposes, and I'm being very simplistic this morning, but this is something I would love for families and for children to understand, because when we understand the science beneath the way we feel, it's empowering, and it also relieves us. And we know that, there's nothing wrong with us, that our brain is actually protecting us with that negativity in all moments of every day. So when we look at brain development, we all have this brain stem back here that develops in utero and maybe even in the first couple of months of life. And it's the seat of all of our automatic functions, those autonomic functions like breathing and respiration and digestion and sleeping, all the things that we do without, thinking about. And that brain stem is really the seat of where our stress response systems initiate any type of rapid heartbeat, or where we begin to feel, some tightness, or we feel breathless. And then we move up into the limbic structures of the brain. And right above each of our ears in the temporal lobes is an area that Dr. Joseph Ledoux calls our threat detection center. It's our emotional smoke detector. And when that is activated, when we notice something or feel or sense something that is unsafe or unfamiliar, then it's kind of firing like fireworks, and it shuts down the newest part of the brain, which is the prefrontal cortex. And this is the part of the brain that doesn't develop until late 20s, early 30s. And it needs experiences to develop. This is where we pay attention. This is where we create a pause. This is where we problem solve. And this is where really we do school and we do life well. So in this time where we all are experiencing unpredictability, where we don't know what the next day is going to bring, when we feel isolated, when we feel restrained, or feel some type of physical or emotional restraint, many of us wake up maybe with a rapid heartbeat, or it's hard to get a deep breath, and we're functioning from those lower parts of the brain. So I want to share with you as a parent, I think some of the most helpful things we can do right now is to share and to create a space called, Michael McKnight and I call this the interpersonal in-between space. And giving our children a chance to just talk about how they feel. Sometimes just being there, not even talking, just a hug, just sitting beside, just listening to the questions is calming to our nervous system. So being present right now with our children, being authentic about how we feel is extremely empowering to them to know that they're not alone and to know that this time will pass. And that's why the second strategy I want to talk about is using routine and some structure in ways that have beginnings and endings. Because when we know that something is going to end and something else is going to begin, that feels comforting and soothing to us. So yes, having a routine in the morning, maybe as a family, we change it up a little bit. You know, we get up, we take a walk, all together we decide before we have breakfast or after breakfast, we all are going to take 3 deep breaths, and maybe we're going to go hold a funny frozen pose and see who can hold it the longest. Maybe we're going to do a blinking contest where we do a stare and see if we can breathe and not blink for maybe 10 seconds. But just having some structure with some unusual or some fun activities, using movement and using breath are going to be so important in this time. I also want to share that it is really important for our children and for all of us to have that ability to connect with each other. So even though we are practicing social distance and we're in our homes, thinking of really fun ways that we can, even if we can't see somebody, that we spend some time FaceTiming or Zooming in or, you know, making a call, texting, and even writing a note, keeping, you know, maybe writing some letters to give to that teacher when that child returns to school, or to give to a relative that we can't see right now, making sure that, you know, we're giving each one of us an opportunity to stay connected in this time, because we know that attachment and relationship are just critically important in times where we feel and sense our worlds in such an isolating way. So I'll be sharing a series of videos, and just remember that we're in this together, and there's not a perfect or even one right way to be. And I think being honest and using that beautiful interpersonal in-between space to ask questions, to sit and to just be present for one another is one of the most calming things that we can give to one another. So take your deep breaths, and I will be back with a couple of more videos to share. Thank you so much.